I love Lutron Caseta wireless switches because they're just so reliable. They never go offline, they never become unresponsive, but if I want to control them, of course, I could walk over to the light switch, but who does that in a smart home? I mean, I could pull out my phone and control pretty much anything in my smart home, but I don't always want to pull out my phone, and I could talk to a HomePod or other voice assistant and control my Lutron lights, but that can take some time, and maybe Siri doesn't understand what I'm asking, and that's all where physical controls can be really nice, and I love Lutron Pico Remotes for doing this with my Lutron lights. But there's been a problem for the past year with this, in that Lutron came out with these new designs for their switch and dimmer, and those look great, but we were left with the original style Pico Remotes and no better way to control those lights. But now Lutron has a new Pico paddle remote which matches this style. On the outside it looks pretty much exactly like a Claro switch or a Lutron accessory switch to the dimmer. If you've seen those, then you get the idea what this looks like. But of course it's thinner and then can be mounted all kinds of places like any of the existing Pico remotes. And it not only works with just Lutron's new style of switches, but you can also use it across their product line. Now, thanks to Lutron for sending me one of these Pico remotes with a paired Diva Dimmer, early access free of charge, but with no strings attached, so I can share my opinion with you guys. Now, well, I'm very excited about this new Pico remote, and there's a lot of great features we'll get into. It's not perfect. There are some drawbacks that might make you consider other options. So first, of course, is that this pairs really well with a Diva Dimmer. And that's because the Diva Dimmer, the new style of Lutron dimmer, it has this little scrubber slider on the side of it that you've probably seen even from non-smart dimmers. And when you set that to a particular brightness level, that's sort of remembered as your favorite brightness level in a way. And then when you're over on this Pico remote, if you tap the on button once, it'll go to that preferred dim brightness level. And then if you tap it again, it'll take the lights to 100%. And then, of course, if you hit the off side of the button, it'll turn the lights off. Now, one of the other things I really like about this Pico remote is that it works well whether you're pairing it with a dimmer or a switch. If you use the original style dimmer Pico remote, and let's say you pair it with a dimmer, but then over time you change the configuration of your house or something, and you want to pair that Pico remote with a switch, it'll work just fine, but the middle buttons will basically be useless. So then you're pairing a dimmer remote with, let's say, a smart plug or a switch on the wall, and that just doesn't really add up. Whereas this, it works great with the new dimmers, but if you want to pair it with something like a Lutron smart plug or light switch, it'll make sense there too, because it's just a paddle control. Now, that also gets me to some of the downsides. The first is that unless you're looking at the light on the side of it or the tiny etched Lutron logo, it's kind of hard to know which direction is up when you pick this up. Now, of course, if you're mounting it on a wall with the little supplied plastic thing, or in a wall box inside of, this place where you put your light switches, or any number of other places where you could mount it and make it look like a light switch on your wall, even though it isn't, then, having it right side up is going to be pretty clear. But on the other hand, if you just lay it out with a bunch of remotes or have it on your desk, picking it up, you're not going to be as easily able to figure out which way is on and which way is off. With the original style Pico remotes, there's often clear labels to show which side is which. Another reason you might still choose the original style Pico remote is because it gives you those fine-grained controls in the middle of the switch for adjusting the brightness. With this, you're just adjusting it to your favorite setting and then 100% brightness, which makes sense to me, but if you want that fine-grained control of the dimmer and being able to press the up, or down to adjust the brightness with the original style Pico remote, then that's still going to be a better option for you. And Lutron is still selling and supporting their original style line, so there's just more options for you to choose from here. The last thing that I think isn't all that great about this remote is that the tactile feedback isn't nearly as good, in my opinion, as the actual switch on the wall. Now, they have made the tactile feedback just as good, if not maybe a little better, than with the original style Pico Remotes. It's a thin piece of plastic. You can't really expect that much, and I'd rather them do that and make the product light than to make it something that just feels amazing to press the button. And that leads me into how they're selling this product. So it's $20 for just the standalone Pico paddle remote, but then it will be $30 for it also with a switch plate, which I think is a great deal. And then you can put it on the wall and just make it look exactly like a light switch. No one would know the difference. And you can then place it anywhere you want in your home, wherever makes sense for you, which might not be the place logically where you would otherwise put a switch box. And then you can get it pre-paired with either a Diva Dimmer or a Claro switch. So then you save a little bit of money in the bundled price of the two products, and they come from the factory paired together, so you don't have to worry about that part of it. I would say at this point, if you're getting new Lutron switches, stick with the new Diva Dimmer or Claro switch style, and then as well, stick with this new Pico Remote style for those corresponding lights. I think it's a great update to the product, but that said, if you still have the original style dimmers or switches in your wall, I wouldn't worry about running out and getting this Pico Remote unless you're just kind of curious for 20 bucks to see how it works. I think that sticking with the original style Pico Remotes for the original style switches is a better strategy. Earlier this year on the channel, I reviewed Lutron's new accessory switch, which is another way to control your Lutron dimmer or switch models, and that hardwires into the wall. So I'll have that video linked somewhere here on the screen, as well as my review of the new Lutron switches from last year. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited for this new Pico Remote? Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. It helps other people find this and the channel. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.